Small drones for catastrophic wildfires are like bringing a flashlight to light up a football field. I'm getting pings about drones in the Texas, now Oklahoma wildfires, and a couple of notes. We aren't flying there, we haven't been asked, and don't expect to be. I know, what? The Texas Forest Service has been pioneers in using drones and in artificial intelligence, and they're just very low key and not giving to posting a lot on social media. We've worked with them for years, and we're honored to actually help a little bit on the Nelson Creek wildfire last year. They don't need small, low altitude tactical drones right now. And besides, they have drones of their own. We just provide them with extra drones and pilots, and we learn from them. The Department of Interior already uses larger, high-altitude strategic drones like the in situ Scan Eagle for catastrophic fires, the ones that are greater than 100,000 acres. And those types of high-altitude, long-distance, long-endurance, fixed-wing drones have been in use since the 2018 Taylor Creek, Oregon fire. They're used for tracking the fire perimeter, spotting little fires, and calling in GPS coordinates as it expands. The Texas-Oklahoma fire is huge. It's a fast-moving fire across the plains, and the information they need on things are like the fire perimeter and how it's changing, and we need those to be collected in real time over multiple counties, which is much better suited to these high-altitude crewed aviation and especially satellites with multispectral imaging. So small drones are like bringing a flashlight to light up a football field. At this time, it looks like the biggest contribution is that the more common tactical drones that fly, what they can do is either help by monitoring areas of the fire at night when crewed aviation isn't allowed to fly for safety reasons, or for monitoring areas where there is no crewed aviation. Thermal imaging, even the cheap lower resolution sensors, can see hot spots that are rekindling. But don't forget, there's also other less common applications of drones, like having an Ignis drone drop off a Dragon Ball, to a little fireball to start off a backfire. And big shout out to University of Nebraska's pioneering work there. Now, for smaller wildfires, tactical drones make more sense for things like there may not be enough crewed aviation assets, enough helicopters to divide up and monitor multiple smaller wildfires that are spread out across different locations. And the wildfire may be small enough to use drones, like we saw in the 2020 wildfire around Chernobyl. Of course, there are multiple phases and missions for wildland firefighting. The big push is for real-time tracking of the fire perimeter, because that helps the responders plan how to fight the fire and also how to keep themselves safe, and also how to get civilians evacuated in time. Now, damage assessment after the fire has passed is another big mission because it helps accelerate economic recovery. And there's lots and lots and lots of work in using small and expensive drones to map out forest and vulnerable urban-rural interfaces, and mostly looking at computer vision and machine learning techniques. My colleagues at CRASAR, especially David Merrick and Justin Adams, and I have been working in the area of how to use drones for this and post-process the imagery for wildland firefighting since 2009. With TEACS, we've co-hosted tabletops and exercises. I've taught a class on it for the Federal Highway Administration, and I was on the short-lived White House Executive Forum that attempted to pull together drones, satellites, communications, AI for wildfires, and get imagery to tactical responders in less than 5 minutes, which turns out to be a hard system of systems problem. You can see our 6 lessons on using drones from wildfires, which really hasn't changed in the past few years, at crasar.org. I'll try to post some of our papers and of course those of others as well. If you aren't hearing about drones, it doesn't mean that drones aren't being used or aren't useful. It's just that the application may be different than what you'd expect.